Colleges and universities around the country are struggling to reopen as the pandemic rages on. Campuses in Indiana, North Carolina, Louisiana, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Georgia have all opened and then quickly closed again as students, teachers, and staff test positive for COVID-19. Now, here in New York, we've had a number of different issues, and the Cuny system is working hard to avoid a repeat of such problems on its 25 college campuses. But they also face another problem, a proposed $20 million budget cut, which threatens to gut programs that have helped boost graduation rates and provided a shot at a quality higher education for New York's working class students. Joining me now to talk about the many challenges facing the Cuny system is the Chancellor, Felix Matos Rodríguez. Welcome. Very good to see you.
Great to see you, Errol. Thank you for having me in the show.
Yes, I wanted to start with how hard Cuny was hit. I don't know if this got as much attention as it deserved, but what was the final count of staff, faculty, and students who were affected and, frankly, died due to the COVID-19 at the peak of the problem?
So, I mean, we were at the epicenter, as you know, here in New York, and we've lost about 39 members of the Cuny community so far, between faculty, students, and staff. We actually have an online memorial that we started to be able to celebrate them, and until we have time to do it, face to face when that's safe. And some of the things are very personal. The first Asian American vice chancellor in Cuny's history that was in charge of facilities, Errol Louis, an alumni. We lost him to the virus. I mean, a friend and a colleague. So it's been very hard. But that's what we took, getting ready and doing safety as job one as we got ready for the fall was such important to us. And so far we're into the third week of the semester, which is hard to believe. And our mostly virtual approach seems to have been working. So in that sense, some of the planning and the investment we did in professional development of faculty and others to get ready for the fall, so far, knock on wood, seems to be working.
Which campuses and by what process are you deciding which campuses and classrooms will be open for in-person learning? I understand that that is a very small minority of the courses that are going to be offered this fall.
Absolutely, Errol. We have just 1% of our classes are face-to-face. So we have about 2,800 of our students, about 275. Are doing that, and they're going once a week to the campus. So those are mostly clinical courses that is very difficult to replicate via the online experience. Some art and music and some of those courses, those are the ones that are being kept face to face. But we really made a priority to try to make everything as much as we could online. The same thing with the student support services, the food pantries, some of the computer labs. There's some things that are open in the campus, but again, keeping density to the minimum and doing the same thing with our staff. Having most of our staff doing telecommuting, we thought that it was the safe way to proceed and to keep the academic momentum. One feature that we have not shared enough because we're still doing the numbers, but even with all the things we faced in the spring, Errol, we graduated close to a record number of students last May, about 50,000. So again, we can do it safely, and we will continue to prioritize that and do everything we can following the protocols. And like I said, so far in 3 weeks, we've only had a handful of cases, and some of them not really related to people coming to the campus, just individuals who are like faculty who've contracted the virus, but not because they've been to the campus.
Okay, so now with the heavy emphasis on remote learning, as you know, I teach part-time at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism. In that particular school, almost every incoming student is either given or is given a deep discount on the purchase of a laptop because it's essential for all of the classes. I know that's not necessarily true across all of the campuses. What steps are you taking to make sure everybody has some hardware and some connectivity so that they can make use of the remote learning curriculum?
Very, very important, Errol. And last spring, between last spring and the summer, all our courses were online also. We distributed over 20,000 computers and laptops to students who needed them to be able to be connected. And that was from the central office. Many of the campuses did individual fundraising, and a lot of our alumni were very supportive in getting that equipment to the students. We also did a survey in the spring, asking the students if they needed a device or they needed connectivity. We found out in that survey that about close to 1% of the students mentioned that their issue was connectivity. And this fall, we purchased about 4,000 hotspots that we're giving to the students that indicated they had issues, so they can take that and be connected. So, and if we need to identify, more, we'll do that so that they can remain connected. So we'll be very thoughtful in trying to make sure that they have both devices, but also connectivity, and also in the professional development that we've had with the faculty, also trying to make them very aware to be thoughtful as they engage the students to ask about those things, and if they get feedback, to relay that to us so we can be supportive to the students. So, okay. We're trying to be as thoughtful as we can about this.
Okay, I've got a lot more questions for you, Chancellor. Please stand by. We're going to take a short break, then I'll be right back with Chancellor Errol Rodríguez. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I'm speaking with the Chancellor of the City University, Felix Matos Rodríguez. And Chancellor, I wanted to ask you about the budget situation at Cuny. I've heard estimates of cuts ranging from 20 million to as high as 90+ million. We've heard about massive layoffs being considered of adjuncts. Where do things stand right now?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. First, we've had no layoffs of any full-time personnel, and even as you read in New York State and in other parts of the country, layoffs of full-time people, furloughs. We've had in a very, very difficult time last semester, at the beginning of this year. We haven't done that. We have to do some adjustment with some of the part-time faculty, and we're trying always to be able to retain them. The budget is still in flux. The budget on the city side has been adopted because it has to be adopted by law, and we're concerned about some of the cuts there. We are hoping that the federal government would do what they need to do and provide some support to the states and to the cities so that they can then support us at our level. So right now, we have actually not adopted the budget for the current academic year because we're waiting to see finally what the budget will be from New York State. And I think everybody's sort of waiting to see what the final outcome will be in D.C. So we've been waiting to do that and trying to protect as many of our faculty and staff as we can as we go along.
Okay. I assume you've got some contingency plans in place. You've also got some pretty serious carrying costs, sort of overhead, right? I mean, even if a campus is empty, I'm thinking of some of the bigger ones like Kingsborough or Brooklyn or College of Staten Island. You got to keep those buildings up, right?
Well, absolutely. And first, I mean, there are additional costs associated with COVID in terms of cleaning and things like that, which you have to be, even if you have less people on the campus and less students, the cleaning protocols are very, very expensive. We've done some investment in infrastructure and technology to help with the virtual platform. Many of the services are still being provided, even if the students, are either getting the services, online, and so the cost structure continues to be there. We began a hiring freeze last year, and with that sort of prudence there, we've been able to save about $20 million. And again, we're hoping that the federal government does what they need to do and supports the cities and the states that were really hit bad by COVID and higher ed. And if not, then, we'll engage in conversations with the stakeholders to do the adjustments that we need to do. But I think we all know that at a time of crisis in New York, investing in CUNY is part of the solution to get the city back up.
Absolutely. You are turning out, middle-class taxpayers at an astounding rate on a yearly basis, so it only makes sense. Before you go, I wanted to bring up the fact that you're moving forward with different programs, and I saw this New York Jobs CEO Council, which says that it's going to provide jobs and internships for 25,000 odd CUNY students with a goal of hitting 100,000 over the next few years. Is that something that can be done even with these COVID restrictions?
Well, absolutely, Errol. And I'm so proud of that initiative, and thank Jamie Dimon, who was the first person who called me about it a year and a half ago when I became chancellor, because he wanted to invest in CUNY. This would allow us to help our recent graduates who are facing a very tough market and the ones who are coming after. It would also allow us to have a direct line with industry to improve career engagement and to improve some of the programs that we have so that they're more in tune with the demand that industry has. So we think that this is a key element in bringing our city back. That's our commitment as a City University of New York to do that. And I'm very excited about this initiative, which is very historic in working with the business community that would help showcase the great talent that we have at CUNY, and it would also help us improve expand some programs that are in demand and maybe develop programs that we need to start putting in the pipeline to meet the demand that the city would have in the immediate future. So very, very excited about that initiative, and particularly the work there to be done with the community colleges. Very, very important and very historic. And the nation is watching how this partnership between higher ed and the business community works here in New York.
Okay, I will be watching as well. Please keep us up to date on that initiative and others as well. Thanks so much for joining us, Chancellor.